buffering, YouTube spinning, devices not connecting, Zoom calls dropping. It's frustrating. Let's end your frustration by signing up for fiber internet in Clinton. Click the Connexus icon at DeWittDailyNews.com.
From the Heart Media Group newsroom and DeWittDailyNews.com, I'm Ben Hubbard with this expanded morning newscast. Good morning and thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Ben Hubbard. You're listening to the WHOW Morning Show. Last month, DeWitt County Emergency Management Agency Coordinator Will Pavlik requested a few necessary accessories for the recently approved truck. A planned absence caused that discussion to be tabled until now. At Thursday night's DeWitt County Public Safety Committee meeting, Pavlik welcomed questions from committee members about the proposed items and their costs, the first of which was a mounted mobile radio that would be a replacement for the current unsupported model, which the sheriff's office will also be doing.
Yeah, so the current vehicle, the Malibu, does have an in-unit mobile radio. We've had that as far as I can remember. It's been something that we utilize, obviously, for in-car communication, and obviously we've got our portables as well, but there's times where, the connection is not going to be as good, and most mobile radios do have a little bit better bandwidth to be able to get some of that connection for in-car communication if it's needed. It's got a bigger audio output as well to where we can hear a little bit better on those as opposed to the smaller portables. We do have one in the car, correct? Yes. But that particular model is getting outdated to where it's not going to be functional compared to this new one that we're getting, this new model.
I think they have the same ones that we have that we're replacing.
Correct.
They haven't been supported for several years. So what we are doing is, as we purchase new vehicles, we're purchasing new radios to replace those. You can still use them, but if something goes wrong with them, they're no good. So if you got the money to replace them, that's why we budgeted to do so.
In the long run, you're better off with an upgrade.
Yeah, correct. Page 4's got the price,
$3,539.62.
Second on the agenda was the purchase of emergency red and blue lights that would go on the interior of the vehicle. Pavlik emphasized that this would not be used while on the way to or from an emergency, but rather while parked on the road to be visible to passing vehicles.
So we had installed lights to the Malibu in February of 2025. It was something that I had noticed was in need after an incident in December of 2024. I was out on the road on 51. It was nighttime hours. It was very windy. It was either raining or snowing. It was precipitation. And I got called out to a hazmat spill out on 51 with a semi, and I parked behind fire trucks or fire apparatus and had to throw my hazard lights on. There were no lights on the vehicle at the time, so I threw my hazards on. And there was a vehicle that was close to hitting the Malibu. Didn't get over in time, just I think due to the nighttime and maybe not paying attention, I'm not sure. And so that was kind of the point where I had felt the need that lights would be appropriate. For the record, I don't drive through town with lights, going code 3 or anything. I've put the lights on when I arrive to the scene just for my own safety, for, the vehicle's safety, so it's not get damaged. And that's, like I said, the only time I leave them on. I put them off when I leave the scene. This gentleman, Josh Mito, has drawn up for me $3,700 is for the front and rear interior light bars, and then it has to do with the bracket system, the speaker system as well. I'm not getting any sirens, obviously. It's strictly lights, but I think just the nature of the Wayland system that is being implemented is a little more expensive, and it's a little more area to cover than the Malibu was. And then adding to that $8,000 total, though, is a installation cost for the mobile radio as well. So that's taking that into account as well. That's $1,800 for that labor cost.
Annually, the city of Clinton and the county agreed to a memorandum of understanding that provides the city with EMA services in exchange for $15,000. Pavlik feels that this amount is insufficient in 2026. Conversations with City Administrator Tony Harris revealed that potential increases would have to come next year.
This is part of our annual process of updating our agreement, or renewing our agreement with the City of Clinton. They pay us $15,000 every year for EMA services for the city. And May 1st is the start of the deadline for the 2026-2027 MOU duration. And so just coming forward, just asking to see if we are wanting to renew this for the amount of $15,000. I did speak with Tony, I believe last week or the week before, about trying to up some of the services, because I know this $15,000 has been in place for, I believe, 15 years at least, maybe longer. And obviously with inflation, cost of services all increasing over those 15 years, we're wanting to try and increase it. I'd kind of eyeballed the $25,000 to $30,000 range potentially. For this year, we're sticking with the $15,000 just because they just rolled out their new budget and don't have the time to incorporate those new costs in there. But we're looking at trying to have discussions over the course of this year to try to implement that for the 2027 MOU re-agreement. So that's kind of where we're at. But I just thought I'd let you know that we are trying to renegotiate some of those terms because the $15,000 I think is too low for 2026.
Both purchases for the new EMA vehicle were approved by the committee. The renewal of the MOU with the City of Clinton was also passed unanimously and will be voted on by the full board next week. DeWitt County's Animal Control has received an influx of non-monetary donations recently, so much so that they are looking to redistribute some of it to the community. We'll have more on that in the days ahead from the Hart Media Group. Get news anytime at DeWittDailyNews.com.
Spring just has a way of putting a little more energy into everything. Brighter days, warmer air, and more reasons to get out and enjoy it. Your home should keep up with that. At Hickory Point Garden Homes, you'll have your own one-story duplex with bright open spaces, a private patio, and neighborhood walking paths just outside your door for that perfect stroll in the spring sunshine. You can spend less time managing your home and more time enjoying the warm spring days ahead. See what that feels like at Hickory Point Garden Homes in Forsyth, Illinois, and step into comfortable living for $55 and better.
Looking for a provider who puts your health first? SIU Family Medicine is accepting new patients. Our care teams are here to keep you healthy, whether you're managing a chronic condition or staying on top of preventative care. With expert physicians and compassionate care, we're here to help you take the next step in your health. Call 217-735-2317 today to schedule your first appointment. That's 217-735-2317. SIU Medicine. Forward for you.
From the Hart Media Group Sports Desk, IL Sports Wire, and DeWittDailyNews.com, I'm Ben Hubbard with this local sports report. Monticello and Champaign St. Thomas More went back and forth all night, combining for 24 runs, but it was the Sages who delivered the final push in a 13-11 win. Monticello struck first in the opening inning with an RBI single from Jax Bailey, but St. Thomas More answered right away and kept applying pressure. The Sages built an early cushion with strong production in the second and third innings, highlighted by RBI hits from Zeke Young, Cole Basak, and a two-run single from Dawson Gatros to make it 7-2. But the Sabres had a response of their own, and St. Thomas More erupted in the fourth inning, putting together a huge rally fueled by a three-run double from Ashton Hill and additional RBIs from Will Carduck and Henry Carduck to take a 9-8 lead. They kept the momentum going in the fifth with Michael Roselle and Brody Gray delivering key hits to extend the lead to 11-10. Monticello did not fold. After tying the game in the fifth, the Sages came through with the decisive inning in the sixth. Grant Kiger ignited the rally with a game-tying triple. Matthias Rudolph followed with an RBI double, and Cole Basak added an RBI single to push Monticello ahead 13-11. From there, the Sages held on, closing out the high-scoring contest and securing the win. Monticello's ability to answer every punch and deliver in the clutch proved to be the difference in a game full of momentum swings. Monticello girls wasted no time taking control and never let up, erupting offensively in a 15-1 rout of Champaign St. Thomas More in high school Lincoln Prairie Conference softball action. The Sages set the tone early in the first inning as Sadie Walsh and Madison Highland each drove in runs to give Monticello a quick 2-0 lead. St. Thomas More answered with a solo home run from Schweigart, but that would be the only spark for the Sabres all game. From there, it was all Monticello. The Sages broke things open in the third inning with a massive rally fueled by extra base hits. Madison Highland, Allie Widener, and Reese Steiger all delivered doubles, while Isabella Beery added an RBI single as Monticello piled on runs and stretched the lead out of reach. They didn't slow down in the fourth or fifth innings. Isabella Beery and Widener continued to produce at the plate, while Sadie Walsh and Cassidy Stoffel added more RBIs in a relentless offensive attack. In the fifth, Widener capped off her standout day with a 2-run double, pushing the total to 15 runs and sealing the blowout. Monticello's lineup consistently found barrels, racking up hits all over the field and taking advantage of opportunities, while their defense held St. Thomas More in check after the opening inning. The Mount Pulaski varsity Hilltoppers used a huge early surge and relentless pressure on the base paths to defeat the 2026 Midwest Central Varsity Raiders 7-1. Mount Pulaski wasted no time getting on the board in the bottom of the first. Chaos on the bases and aggressive running quickly turned into runs as Luke Martin and Tyler Cross both came around to score during a sequence fueled by wild pitches and a dropped third strike. Jaden Jackson added a key RBI single as the Hilltoppers jumped out to an early 3-0 lead. The pressure didn't stop there. In the third inning, Mount Pulaski continued to capitalize on free passes. A series of walks pushed runs across in waves, extending the lead as the Hilltoppers built a commanding 7-0 advantage. The lineup stayed patient, and the Raiders struggled to find answers on the mound as traffic on the bases never stopped. Midwest Central finally broke through in the fourth. After a balk moved the runners into scoring position, Dalton Johnson drove in a run with a sac fly to center, bringing Ryan Terrell to make it 7-1. That would be the Raiders' only run of the game as Mount Pulaski's early damage proved too large to overcome. From start to finish, the Hilltoppers controlled the tempo with patience at the plate and aggressive base running, securing the dominant 7-1 win. The Sullivan Lady Redskins wasted no time taking control and never let go, powering past the Argenta-Oreana Lady Bombers 7-2 behind a dominant early offensive outburst. The game opened with Sullivan putting immediate pressure on Argenta-Oreana. In the bottom of the first, they struck for multiple runs, highlighted by a double from Erilyn Thrasher as the Bombers' defense struggled to contain the damage. The inning quickly spiraled as it got out of control for Argenta-Oreana before they could settle in. The momentum carried into the second inning, where the Redskins continued to capitalize on mistakes. Walks, wild pitches, and defensive errors helped push the lead to 7-0 before the middle innings, giving Sullivan full control of the game early. Argenta-Oreana showed life in the sixth when Kaylin Madrigal delivered an RBI single to bring home Sophia Wickland. In the seventh, Wickland added another hit and helped generate a second run after an error, but the rally came too late to close the gap. Despite the late push from the Bombers, the Redskins' early offensive explosion proved too much to overcome as they secured the 7-2 victory. In a game packed with momentum swings, the Lincoln Railsplitters stormed back late and walked it off for an 11-10 win over Champaign Central. Champaign Central came out firing, getting on the board first with a leadoff home run from Pipkins. They broke things open in the fourth inning, highlighted by a bases-clearing triple from Timmons that pushed the lead to 7-3 and gave Central full control. But Lincoln chipped away at that deficit. The Railsplitters answered in the third with a big 2-run single from Kane Komnick, then continued to close the gap in the fifth. Cooper Kohler and Bryce Vlahovic delivered key RBI singles, and Chase March tied the game at 7-7 with a clutch hit to center. Lincoln grabbed the lead in the 6th when Owen Comstock came through with an RBI single, putting the Railsplitters up 8-7. Still, Champaign Central wasn't done. In the top of the 7th, Central surged back ahead behind a 2-run single from Timmons and another run-scoring play to make it 10-8. With their backs against the wall, Lincoln delivered one final rally. In the bottom of the 7th, Grady Rutledge came through with a 2-run single to tie the game at 10-10. Moments later, Owen Comstock stepped up again and delivered the biggest hit of the night, a walk-off RBI single to center field that scored Austin Lucas and completed the comeback in dramatic fashion. A game that looked in hand for Champaign Central turned into a resilient, never-quit performance from Lincoln, who had the final answer when it mattered most. What looked like a comfortable win turned into a back-and-forth thriller, but the Heyworth Lady Hornets had the final say, walking off the Warrensburg-Latham Lady Cardinals 9-8 in the bottom of the 8th inning. Heyworth came out hot early on, putting up 4 runs in the first inning behind RBI swings from Carissa Cook, Haley Rogers, and Grace Streens. They continued to apply pressure in the 4th and 5th innings, building what became an 8-4 lead thanks to contributions from Streens, Ilya Riddle, Natalie Kopp, and a sac fly from Lena Hunt. Warrensburg-Latham did not go quietly. The Cardinals chipped away in the 4th with a 2-run blast from Kelsey Oakley, then took advantage of defensive miscues in the 5th to tighten the game. Still trailing late, they erupted in the top of the 7th inning. Bella Ground sparked the rally with a 2-run single, followed by Audrey Denton and Eliana Park, each delivering RBI knocks to tie the game at 8-8 and force extra innings. With momentum seemingly on the Cardinals' side, Heyworth stayed composed. In the bottom of the 8th, the Hornets put together the final push. Lauren Streens reached and Lena Hunt stepped up in the clutch, lining a single to left field that brought home Riley Barden for the game-winning run, sealing the dramatic 9-8 victory. Heyworth's early offense set the tone, but it was their resilience after surrendering the late lead that defined the win, answering immediately when it mattered most. Junior Caminero homered, and the Tampa Bay Rays scored twice on bases loaded walks in the 9th inning, rallying for a 5-3 win over the Chicago White Sox on Thursday.
Things started out well enough as Miguel Vargas successfully overturned a called strike 3, and then on the very next pitch, Miguel Vargas took full advantage.
A swing and a drive deep to left field, and it is gone.
Everson Pereira backed that up with a solo shot of his own.
It's a swing and a fly ball will hit left center field. It is gone. Everson Pereira gives the Sox the lead in the 8th.
But the White Sox bullpen could not hold a 3-2 lead, and a 3-run spot by the Rays was enough to secure the sweep at Rate Field. The Sox hit the road for 6 games in 7 days. I'm Jeff Meller, and I'll have your pregame coverage starting at 8 p.m. on the ESPN 1000 Hard Rock Casino White Sox Network.
White Sox right-handed pitcher Davis Martin starts Friday in Sacramento against right-handed pitcher Aaron Savali. Logan Malu scored the go-ahead goal with 2 minutes and 57 seconds left to play, and Robert Thomas had a hat trick as the St. Louis Blues beat the Utah Mammoth 5-3 in the regular season finale for both teams on Thursday night. Malu scored unassisted on a backhand shot from 20 feet out to make it 4-3 in a back-and-forth game. Thomas's third goal, an empty netter with 38 seconds left, capped the scoring. Pavel Buchnevich had the other goal for St. Louis, and Joel Hofer made 20 saves. Michael Carcone, Lawson Krause, and Kaylor Yamamoto scored for the Mammoth. Karel Velmelka and Vitek Vanecek combined for 24 stops. Clayton Keller assisted on 2 Utah goals to become the 3rd NHL player this season with at least 1 assist in 10 straight games. St. Louis struck first at the 3-minute and 45-second mark of the first period when Buchnevich tapped in a wrist shot at the post. Utah equalized when Carcone snapped in the puck with 3 minutes and 5 seconds left in the first. Krause put the Mammoth in front 45 seconds into the second period, tapping in a deflected puck after Mackenzie Weegar fired a shot down the middle. Thomas scored twice later in the period to help the Blues retake the lead. He leveled the score on a wrist shot at the 8-minute and 14-second mark, and then a tipped in the puck with 8 minutes and 53 seconds left in the second. Utah equalized again with 1 minute and 7 seconds left in the second on Yamamoto's blast down the middle. The Blues end their season with a final record of 37, 33, and 12. The Mammoth visit Vegas for Game 1 of their NHL playoff first-round series on Sunday. In MLB scores from yesterday, the Washington Nationals beat the Pittsburgh Pirates 8-7 in 10 innings, while the San Francisco Giants shut out the Cincinnati Reds 3-0. The Detroit Tigers beat the Kansas City Royals 10-9, while the LA Angels beat the New York Yankees 11-4. The Milwaukee Brewers beat the Toronto Blue Jays 2-1, while the Texas Rangers beat the Athletics 9-6. The Cleveland Guardians took down the Baltimore Orioles 4-2. The Colorado Rockies beat the Houston Astros 3-2, while the San Diego Padres took down the Seattle Mariners 5-2. In NHL scores from last night, the Anaheim Ducks beat the Nashville Predators 5-4, while the San Jose Sharks routed the Winnipeg Jets 6-1. The Calgary Flames beat the LA Kings 3-1, while the Edmonton Oilers beat the Vancouver Canucks 6-1. The Colorado Avalanche shut out the Seattle Kraken 2-0. Get highlights of your local high school program by finding IL Sports Wire on your preferred social media platforms, and get local sports anytime at DeWittDailyNews.com.
Experience the power of better connection with Connexus Fiber Internet. Connexus delivers ultra-fast, reliable speeds to keep you connected at the speed of life. Whether you're working from home, streaming your favorite shows, or gaming with your friends, Connexus has you covered. Say goodbye to buffering and dropped calls and say hello to fiber fast internet. Ready to upgrade your connection? Sign up today by clicking the Connexus icon at DeWittDailyNews.com. Nothing connects us like Connexus.
MR Systems Wireless is your local internet provider for Clinton and surrounding area. They have the products you want and the local service you deserve. MR Systems Wireless Internet service for home or business includes unlimited data, unlimited streaming, and unlimited calling. Plans start at just $48 a month and get a free Roku 4-lease with our media packages. Get the speed you need with MR Systems Wireless. Call them at 935-2100. That's 935-2100 for MR Systems Wireless.
Looking for a provider who puts your health first? SIU Family Medicine is accepting new patients. Call 217-735-2317 today to schedule your first appointment. That's 217-735-2317. SIU Medicine, forward for you.
DeWittDailyNews.com is the area's leading local news source 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Get the latest local news, obituaries, police blotter, weather forecast, and more with no paywall. Head to DeWittDailyNews.com to get the local information you need to know.
With SRN News, I'm Rich Thomason in Washington. There are hopeful signs for peace in the Mideast. A 10-day truce between Israel and Hezbollah in Lebanon appears to be holding. President Trump has invited the leaders of Israel and Lebanon for talks at the White House. Mr. Trump says if Iran fails to agree on a deal acceptable to the U.S., the war could resume, but he also says he does expect that the war will end soon. The economy and the impact of tax cuts top of mind for the president during a visit to Las Vegas yesterday. Among other things, Mr. Trump touted his no tax on tips initiative. At least part of the president's on-again, off-again White House ballroom project is off again, results of a court ruling which President Trump is appealing. He describes the judge who issued the ruling as a Trump-hating judge. Dow futures up 243 points. NASDAQ futures ahead 79. More details, srnnews.com.
See, if something costs less, a lot less, but people are actually happier with it, that sounds like something to look into. And that's MetaShare. Maybe you've heard joining MediShare can save you or your family up to $500 a month, and that's huge, but it's also true. People are just happier with it. They love being part of something that reflects and promotes their values and what they believe in. MediShare works too. It's been around for 30 years now, and members have shared more than $8 billion of each other's bills. People love having telehealth and a huge nationwide PPO network. So yeah, really, you can save a ton and like it better. Imagine being happy with how you're taking care of your health care, whether you're self-employed or part of the gig economy, or you just want a plan that you're happy with. Here you go. You can call right now and get a price within 2 minutes. A very, very smart use of 2 minutes. Here's the number you need. It's 844-45-BIBLE. That's 844-45-BIBLE. 844-45-BIBLE.
From the Heart Media Group newsroom and DeWittDailyNews.com, I'm Ben Hubbard with this local news update. The DeWitt County 708 Board has wrapped up its latest community needs assessment and is looking ahead to how it can address the concerns brought out through that assessment. On the WHOW Morning Show Thursday, Sharon Mills with the DeWitt County 708 Board told the Heart Media Group that the organization has been reviewing the findings from its community assessment conducted in partnership with Heritage Behavioral Health to better understand the specific needs of the people they serve.
Well, the DeWitt County Community Mental Health Board is required to produce an assessment every 3 years to support our strategic planning for the county and the services and programs that are needed for residents with mental illness, substance use disorder, and or intellectual and developmental disabilities. So this year we teamed up with Heritage, who also had a requirement to do an assessment for a project that they're working on. Well, there were several things we did for this particular assessment. We had a community survey that was online as well as distributed through our social networks and through the libraries in DeWitt County. There was a professional survey, so individuals could potentially respond from multiple perspectives and take both surveys, professional survey. And then we also did focus groups and key informant interviews with who we thought were some key populations that we wanted to speak to and get input from.
Mills explains that the survey results have led them to focus on the challenges of accessing care and the stigmas that surround the resources they provide, like a perceived cost barrier.
The assessment followed 3 themes, I guess.
Okay.
And that was generally community needs, barriers to treatment, as well as specific service needs in the community. There are certain sections in there as well that specifically talk about youth. There's a section that focuses on needs of veterans in the community. Of course, stigma is always raised as a barrier to treatment, as people may be reluctant or hesitant to seek services for a multitude of reasons. One of those reasons, though, was people perceiving a cost barrier. And it's important to know that individuals can get services from Heritage at a low cost or on a sliding fee scale.
We'll have more in the days ahead at the Heart Media Group on their findings from the community assessment. Get news anytime at DeWittDailyNews.com.
Noah Atkinson here. As owner of Lincoln Printers and Sign Designs in Lincoln, I know small business is important to our communities. That's why I'm pleased to be the exclusive sponsor of the WHOW WEZC Lincoln Printers Business of the Month.
The Vault Community Center on Mr. Lincoln Square in Clinton is a nonprofit teen community center offering an environment for social, academic, and spiritual growth through opportunities and services. They'll receive a $200 gift certificate, good at Lincoln Printers and Sign Designs, for being our WHOW WEZC Lincoln Printers Business of the Month. Nominate a business you'd like featured by emailing us at WHOW@randyradio.com.
Congratulations to this local business for all they do for the community. And don't forget, for envelopes, wedding invitations, signs, banner wraps, and more, go to LincolnPrintersInc.com.
DeWitt County's #1 source for local news is on the air and online 24 hours a day. The latest local news stories are heard every hour on Central Illinois' news station, the Big 1520 AM and 92.3 FM WHOW. Stream live at DeWittDailyNews.com. They're also heard every hour on the station that's your easy choice, 95.9 FM WEZC. And to read the latest local news on your electronic device, including tablets, iPhones, and smartphones, go to DeWittDailyNews.com. DeWitt County's #1 source for local news is on the air, online 24 hours a day.
You're listening to a best of segment of the WHOW Morning Show, brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. Again, this is a best of the WHOW Morning Show.
Your friend in Central Illinois. WHOW.
Top of the morning. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Seth Lawrence. The WHOW Morning Show streams to Facebook and YouTube, brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. My guest in studio today is Clinton Police Chief Ben Lowers. Good to see you, Chief.
Good morning.
Happy spring to you, by the way.
Yes, absolutely. You as well.
Knock on wood. I'm hoping today kind of turns that corner to where we're
Yeah.
finally.
You know what? We've had a couple teasers here the last few weeks,
We
or a
have.
couple weeks, but no. You know what? As I tell people in this conversation all the time, we're reaching that point that at least if we do have these blasts of cool air and whatnot, they're not going to last long.
They're short-lived,
you know.
yeah.
And so, enjoying the time change, the longer days, the
Mhm.
sunshine, the vitamin D. It's good,
Mhm.
good for everybody.
You a golf guy? You gonna watch the Masters this weekend?
You know what? I am not.
Okay.
I'm not. I do like to play on occasion. You know, I'm that go along golfer. If you play golf, I'd love to go along. But
You go for the cold drinks, probably.
well, you know what? I enjoy the socialization part of it. I played last year for the first time in many years. But
Yeah, nice.
And I'll tell you, you know, real quick on that. I played with a group, actually Clint Lichten Walter, another group with one of our vendors for the city over in Champaign. And I'll tell you what, the first 4 holes, I was actually surprised myself. I played really well. Hole 5 through 18 saved me several $100s because I was going to stop and buy some clubs on the way home. But those last few holes, I thought, you know what, I'm not ready for this.
You got
yet.
humbled a
So,
little bit.
Yeah, I did. So saved me some money. So it was a good time.
Nice. Hey, I tell you what, let's dive into it, Chief. You know, you talk about the spring and those sorts of things. Let's start there if you don't mind. We've got, you know, all the spring things going on. Prom's coming up. You know, folks are out more. With folks being out more, you know, we annually talk about making sure your vehicles are locked, your garages, your homes.
We do.
Yeah,
You know,
let's dive into that.
You know, 'tis the season, and I was actually just talking to the transportation director at the high school or at the school district here just in the last couple of days, and we talked about, you know, the school year is winding down, but yet almost the busiest time of year. You know, we got multiple sports going on. We got baseball, we got track, we got you know, we got prom coming up and graduation. You know, while they're trying to wind down, it's such a busy time, and it is for us as well. You know, as we're talking about the warmer weather, the longer days, things. You know, a lot more outdoor activity going on, a lot more pedestrian traffic, motorcycle traffic, bicycle traffic, things of that nature. And we just remind people as they're coming out of those winter blues and you know, getting outside to enjoy the outdoors, that they're cognizant about things around them. You know, that again, that pedestrian, motorcycle, bicycle traffic, kids playing outside. You know, something that I probably complain about we don't do enough of, but love to see those kids outside getting some fresh air, getting dirty, you know, wearing themselves down. You know, but with that, you know, that pedestrian traffic at all hours of day and night, you know, it's not as suspicious now as it is in the middle of the bitter cold winter time. But keeping those vehicles locked, we've been fortunate. We've not had a serious rash of car burglaries for quite some time. And we don't want to start that now. So make sure you're removing those valuables from your vehicles and keeping them locked. You know, it's been some time since we've had an actual forced burglary to a vehicle, and we want to keep it that way. Oftentimes it is more so, you know, I hate to say a crime of opportunity because nobody's inviting a would-be burglar into their unlocked vehicle, but you know, we do have individuals from time to time that are lurking out there in the middle of the night. They're checking vehicles through residential neighborhoods, and when they come across an unlocked vehicle, they're taking change out of a console or a checkbook or a purse or whatever. So remove those belongings, those valuables from your vehicles, and make sure you keep them locked, keep them in well-lit areas if that you can. We love security lights and automatic lights that come on in the dark due to motion. The other thing that we always talk about, and I want to touch on because we have just experienced this just in the last week or so, but it is the increase in loose pets. We have a leash law in the city of Clinton, and we ask people with the additional bicycle and pedestrian traffic, those things are more noticed, and we're getting more calls about that when we have dogs running at large and things of that nature. So keep your pets contained and keep your things locked up. Kind of a broken record that we talk about every year this time, but this kind of becomes the busiest time of year for us historically, as people get out, as I say, kind of get out and start stretching their wings from a long winter.
I'll tell you what, somebody tries to somebody tries to get in my car, maybe they take the debit card or something like that. Joke's on them because there's nothing on it. And if they try to take the change out of the console, they might grab more dog hair than they will change. So, I guess, burglar beware,
good stuff,
if you will. No, and I want to parlay this conversation, Chief, into a larger discussion at a city level. Flock cameras have become a big talking point. The city has pursued these, started with Kiwanis Park, and found more utility for them in other places. What's going on here? What can you tell us?
So this discussion really started. It's something that we've been considering for several years, as this is kind of the movement in law enforcement investigative tactics nationwide. And we have been utilizing Flock. I mean, ourselves, the Sheriff's Office, Farmer City PD, all of your local law enforcement agencies have been utilizing the Flock system for several years in investigative tactics, while we have not had our own cameras deployed here locally. Just in a conversation we had yesterday, kind of a team meeting with our Flock representatives, there are 26 law enforcement agencies utilizing Flock within about a 100-mile radius. Okay. You can't go more than about 30 miles in any direction of Clinton and not be captured on a Flock camera. Okay. But some things about that, so what kind of brought it to fruition is with the upgrade to Kiwanis Park and the investment that the city has made there. One of the things that they wanted to do from the very beginning, and I strongly recommend it, is to get that under some type of surveillance.
Just been so many issues there over the years.
Well, the thing of it is, when we started initially discussing, the remodel of Kiwanis Park, its mere location and its design makes it I don't want to say problematic, but somewhat challenging for us to be able to monitor on a regular basis. And so, unfortunately, the camera system, all that does is capture something after it occurs. Okay. But it is going to help us resolve those issues where we have vandalism and things of that nature, and hopefully deter it for the future. Okay. So really our Flock camera system kind of came out of that. I know the city looked at several different options for that, and settled on the Flock system. And of course I then stepped in and, hey, if we're going to look at the Flock system, let's look at it, broadening that a little wider than that, with some LPRs, license plate readers, or license plate recognition. And so we did. So we started looking at that, kind of asked for the moon, and I shouldn't put it that way, but, where I was at, if we're going to utilize the Flock cameras, it was my preference that we put them on all 6 entrance exits of state highways into Clinton. And so that's what we asked for, and that's been approved. And so, the city has approved a Flock camera that is, I don't recall the name of it, but it's basically a stationary camera that is live feed all the time at Kiwanis Park. The LPRs that will be at the 6 entrances into Clinton, all state highways 10, 54, and 51 on both sides of town, will utilize license plate recognition. And so what those cameras do, they're well, first of all, let me back up. Some of the discussion around the Flock cameras, I get it. And I want to put that information out there to minimize the misunderstanding of what they're capable of, what they do, and what they don't do. They are, I've made some notes here, but the camera is a point in time capture at a fixed location. Okay. On a public highway. There's questions about, it's tracking us, violations of our 4th Amendment, different things of that nature. And many courts have held up that they are not. They're a point in time capture. They do not video. There's no facial recognition involved in them. When we talk about quote tracking, this camera does not track. It takes an image of vehicle characteristics and a license plate at a point in time capture. Okay. It's not tracking. It doesn't track speed. It doesn't utilize facial recognition, nothing of that nature. The benefits to us that we have already utilized through other agencies' cameras has been phenomenal. And I can go over some of those if we have time. Again, you're on a public roadway. It's not taking an image of the person. It's taking an image of the vehicle, of the plate. We can connect them to what we call the hot list, the NCIC, the Amber Alert system, the Silver Alert system, things of that nature, to where if a vehicle, let's say a stolen vehicle, a vehicle being tied to a wanted person or a violent felon, something of that nature, enters our community, it correlates that plate through the NCIC system, and it will send us a notification that that vehicle has been captured on our flock camera. A huge benefit for us in terms of monitoring when those folks enter our community or come through our community. Again, about safety of our community, and so that's one way that they're utilized. They don't track, they don't capture speed, they don't utilize facial recognition, simply captures plates and vehicle characteristics. It's a preventative tool, not a tracking tool. Okay.
So what do you mean by that? It's a preventative tool.
It's a preventative tool. It is not tracking individuals. Okay. It is taking the images by motion. Okay. We can then utilize that to do a search for a vehicle. It's not sending us every vehicle that's coming. Okay. It is taking images of those, and then we can track that data, or I'm sorry, not track that data. We can search that data to look for a specific vehicle that we're looking for.
Okay.
I'll give you an example and where this is utilized so often and where it will be such a benefit to Clinton. Let's give the example of, and we've had this numerous times. We have a late night, early morning retail theft at one of our 24-hour businesses. Okay. We have individuals go into a 24-hour business and commit a significant felony retail theft. Oftentimes it's liquor. Okay. And they leave the area, and all we have is a maroon sedan. Okay. We can search then our flock cameras. Now that's just that they have entered or exited through one of those 6 areas. But anyways, we can then search that vehicle description. We're looking for a maroon sedan. Okay. And we might look for a maroon sedan. Let's say the incident occurred at 3:00 in the morning. We can search that. We're searching for a maroon 4-door sedan. Maybe we know the vehicle make and model, but we don't have a plate number. But anyways, we can search that just by vehicle description, and we can search it here locally. We can search it in the surrounding cameras of those agencies that choose to share theirs with us. And we come across a maroon 4-door sedan left Clinton at 3:11 a.m. Chances are it's going to also capture the license plate. Well, now when we can take it from just a maroon 4-door sedan to here's the license plate and here's who that checks to, now we have a place to guide our investigation rather than just looking for a random maroon 4-door that nobody seems to know who it could have been. Okay. Now we can tie a license plate to that through that search that may give us, the opportunity to track someone down to conduct an interview, whether a suspect or a witness or whatever else,
Yeah. And last thing on this, and we'll, Chief, and we'll take a break here real fast. While you commit to, and I know this argument is probably going to be put out there, while you commit to, this is how we're going to use it. You mentioned other agencies may have access to your cameras, or they may have access to others.
So that's an important factor there. Okay. The data is ours. Okay. That is part of our agreement, part of our contract. The data that our cameras capture, that is our data. That's not Flock's data. They provide the hardware, the software, and the maintenance of them. Okay. The data belongs to us. We choose who, when, and where we share that information. Okay. And I can tell you just locally, as I mentioned, those, that 100-mile radius, some of those agencies are very forthcoming with sharing that. They allow us to access their data. Some are not. Every data inquiry requires a legal justification to search that. Okay. And we have to input that. It's tracked by user. it's tracked by the means or the reason for that search. Keep in mind, we have access to many law enforcement resources that are law enforcement sensitive, law enforcement only. Okay. Our Secretary of State information, our leads information, our NCIC information. We use an investigative tool called TLO that tells us so much about any individual. We can't utilize those for recreational purposes. Okay. There has to be a legal, lawful investigative justification behind those to use those. Flock is no different. We will track those things. Flock tracks those things. We will track those things. There's also an audit tool. So I can go through and I can see who has searched and what they've searched and why they've searched. Okay. There's certainly accountability tied to it, but I understand, in a world that we live in today, the public trust, we want to be very transparent about what this system does, what it doesn't do, how it will be utilized, how it's justifiably utilized. That's important. And we want to be transparent about that. It is a tremendous investigative tool for us. People talk about, it's just more tracking. Ladies and gentlemen, anybody that carries a smartphone, you're being tracked more by that than we can ever track you anywhere else. And again, the Flock system is not a tracking tool. It's a point in time capture of an image. It's the difference between, because I've heard this argument. Well, why don't we just utilize the private cameras? We do. You are on camera nearly everywhere you go. Okay, that is not an invasion of your privacy when you're in. You go into a business, when you drive past people's homes, I mean, you are being captured on camera. The difference with Flock or these LPR cameras is it's capturing that, it's running the plate, and we can tie them to the NCIC system in the hot list so that it then notifies us when one of those hot list vehicles comes into our territory.
Sure.
We'll get into it, how we've already utilized it and how it could have been utilized in investigations where it wasn't available to us before.
Sure. Well, maybe we'll dive into that in our next visit in May. How's that, Chief? Very good. Clinton Police Chief Ben Lauer is in studio with us. More to come with the Chief on the WHOW Morning Show.
WHOW.
Let's check the opening numbers now with the Chicago Board of Trade on this Friday. I'm Jim Taylor on the RFD Radio Network. Corn, beans, and Chicago wheat opening the day lower. May corn 4.44 3/4, down 3 3/4. July corn down 4 1/4, 4.53 1/2. New crop December 4.72, down 4 3/4. May beans 11.54, down 9 3/4. July beans 11.71 1/4, down 9 1/2. November new crop down 8 3/4, 11.47 1/4. May Chicago wheat 5.88, down 10 1/2. May KC wheat down 11 1/2, 6.31 1/4. May bean meal 3.30.80, down $1.90. May bean oil 67.57, down $1.76. Energy market June Brent crude oil down 9.95, 89.49. Opening numbers on this Friday morning. Jim Taylor, RFD Radio Network.
Spring is in the air, so it's time to choose your new Silverado. This is Scott Baum from Baum Chevrolet Buick in Clinton and Farmer City. We have a good selection of new Silverados with springtime savings and special finance rates. Choose from regular cabs, double cabs, or crew cabs in gas or diesel. We're also allowing extra money for your trade on all new Silverados this month. Silverado, together let's drive. See all our inventory at BaumChevyBuick.com, right from the start.
Here's Matt Hart, owner of the Hart Media Group in Clinton.
It's been great. You and Ben and the entire team are doing a great job. And we're just continuing on serving the local community, right? This is what this is all about. We're here to serve our local community. We're here to tell the local stories. We're here to cover the news. So nothing in that regard is changing. Our goal is connecting people. And that's our tagline at Hart Media Group. It's connecting people.
Hart purchased the Miller Media Group in August of 2025 and looks forward to serving the community for years to come. You're listening to a best of segment of the WHOW Morning Show, brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. Again, this is a best of the WHOW Morning Show.
Your friend in Central Illinois, WHOW.
Once again, good morning. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Seth Lawrence. The WHOW Morning Show streams to Facebook and YouTube brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin insurance agent in Clinton. My guest in studio, Clinton Police Chief Ben Lowers. And Chief, as we come up on May, prom a little earlier this year in Clinton. In fact, just a few weeks away. Let's talk prom.
Yeah, Saturday, April 25th at the Clinton High School. Our prom's taking place. The Grand March late in the afternoon, followed by the prom at Clinton High School. So an exciting time for our upperclassmen of Clinton High School. And, as I talk about generally that, one of those occasions that we experience in high school, that lifelong memories and things that you'll talk about at class reunions for years to come. So we want to make sure that everybody's responsible and makes good choices to make sure that that has a positive, lasting effect moving forward. So, obviously the basics of say no to alcohol, drugs, and unwanted behavior. Don't drink and drive, and don't get in a car with anyone who has been drinking or using drugs. Wear a seatbelt every time, no matter how short the trip. Make sure that parents and guardians know where you are at all times and in case of an emergency. Call a parent, guardian, or someone you trust in case plans change or you need help. We strongly recommend that you make plans in advance. And in an occasion like this that is so important and so designed, to make positive memories, make a plan. Have a plan of what your day and especially your night's going to consist of, where you're going to be, who you're going to be with, and make that known to folks. Hey, I was 17 and 18 one time too, and maybe that's the last thing you want to do, but it's so important. Someday you'll be in my shoes as a parent and go, now I understand why my parents wanted to know where I was at and what I was doing. But, going to prom is an exciting event in your life. So keep it fun, keep it healthy. And I just can't stress enough to make sure that we keep it safe so that those memories don't ever have a black cloud tied to them. Safe driving, we certainly recommend that while prom can oftentimes entail late nights and all night events, we certainly recommend that you again make a plan, be somewhere and stay somewhere. Whether we're talking about New Year's Eve, prom, things of that nature, it's not only you on the road. And as the night progresses and we get to 11 o'clock, midnight, and after midnight, the risk of safety, the risk of injury increases out on the roadways. It's not just you. You can't account for the condition of the other drivers too. So we want to minimize that. Make a plan, stick to that plan, be somewhere safe, and certainly make positive memories.
Very good. Well, on that note, Chief, I got about a minute left with you. Anything else coming up this spring you want to highlight?
So the same day on October 25th from 10 to 12 as the National Drug Take-Back Day, we'll have curbside pickup available at Clinton Police Department. Again, reminding people that we do accept unused and expired medications at the police department 24/7, 365. But on this particular National Take Back Day, we're partnering with the health department and our local ROSC program. And we will have a curbside pickup in front of the police department at 118 West Washington Street.
All right.
Come by, collect those medications, get them out of the cabinets so that we can get them safely disposed of.
Very good. So put that on the calendar, April 25th. It's prom and take back day. Very good. Chief, always good to see you. We'll see you in May.
Thank you, Seth.
Very good. Clinton Police Chief Ben Lowers in studio with us. The morning show streams to Facebook and YouTube, brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin insurance agent in Clinton. Network news on the way.
WHOW.
The Big 1520 WHOW Clinton, along with 92.3 FM Clinton and 106.5 FM Bloomington Normal.
Breaking news this hour from Town Hall. I'm Rich Thomason. A 10-day truce in Lebanon appears to be holding as President Trump calls it an historic day for Lebanon. He also is expressing optimism about the war with Iran. The president, on a swing through Nevada and Arizona, reasons that his tax cuts will help to win over voters in the upcoming midterms.
In Las Vegas Thursday night, President Trump promoted the tax cuts he signed into law last year.
This is the birthplace of a little idea known as no tax on tips. This is the birthplace.
In an appeal targeted at this year's midterm elections, Trump insisted it wasn't just tipped workers.
Every single American at every income level is more money in their pockets this week because of the Republican tax policies.
I'm Ben Thomas.
The president has nominated a former deputy surgeon general to be the next director of the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention.
The top post at the CDC has been a revolving door the past few months as Donald Trump's first nominee withdrew and the second was fired after less than a month on the job. Erica Schwartz is the president's latest nominee. In addition to being a former deputy surgeon general, Schwartz also served as chief medical officer for the U.S. Coast Guard. She holds both medical and law degrees. The Atlanta-based CDC is charged with protecting Americans from preventable health threats. Greg Clugston, Washington.
Leaving for the private sector, acting ICE Director Todd Lyons will resign the end of next month. The Artemis 2 astronauts who ignited a lunar renaissance are giving high marks to their moon ship for its performance during re-entry, especially the all-important heat shield. Stock futures sharply higher ahead of this morning's Wall Street opening bell. The Dow futures are up 498 points. NASDAQ futures better by 215 points. More on these stories, townhall.com.
Diabetes, high blood pressure, anxiety meds, everyone's on them. If you're a 50-year-old male, maybe a bit porky, and you may even have type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term insurance may only cost you about $200 a month. Call Term Provider. Speak with Big Lou at 800-555-2085. Big Lou will find a term life policy for you even if you have type 2 diabetes, are overweight, or have high blood pressure. Term Provider has helped thousands of people like you who think they can't afford term life insurance. To buy $1 million of affordable term life for you, all you need to do is call Big Lou at 800-555-2085. Lou will make sure the scales are tipped in your favor. Call 800-555-2085. Big Lou will answer your call and work to fit you into a term life policy that you can afford. Remember, Big Lou's like you. He's on meds too. Call 800-555-2085 or biglou.com.
A 2-year-old wolf that escaped from a South Korean zoo has been captured following a 9-day search.
Daejeon officials have released social media videos showing rescuers pulling the limp wolf named Nyogo from a ditch and placing it in a carrier. Nyogo had been tranquilized and captured on a hill